It was supposed to be the perfect family vacation. In March 1998, 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley set sail on the Royal Caribbean cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas with her parents and younger brother. The cruise was headed for the Caribbean, and for a few days, it was perfect. Laughter, sunshine, ocean breeze. But what started as a dream getaway quickly turned into one of the most baffling disappearances in modern history. One moment, Amy was dancing and laughing with new friends on the ship. Hours later, she was just gone. No trace, no goodbye, not even a scream in the night, just vanished. There were no warning signs. Amy wasn't depressed. She wasn't running from anything. She had just graduated with a degree in physical education. She had a job lined up. She had a dog waiting for her back home. She was even nervous about the cruise. Didn't like the idea of being stuck on a boat with strangers. But she went anyway. And now, over 2 decades later, her name is still whispered on internet forums, true crime podcasts, and unsolved mystery shows. Her story has inspired countless theories, each one more chilling than the last. What makes Amy's disappearance especially haunting is where it happened. On a cruise ship, in the middle of the ocean. A floating city, surrounded by nothing but water for miles. Controlled, monitored, cameras, security, staff everywhere. In theory, no one should just disappear without someone noticing. Yet, on March 24, 1998, Amy Lynn Bradley walked out of her family's cabin in the early morning hours and was never seen again. At least, not officially. Amy was a bright, athletic young woman from Virginia. She was strong, independent, and not easily rattled. Her father described her as someone who didn't scare easily and was always aware of her surroundings. Amy had earned a full basketball scholarship and was working hard toward a career in sports psychology. She had plans. She had a future. The cruise had started off well. On March 21, 1998, the Bradleys boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas in Puerto Rico, ready for a week-long journey through the Caribbean. The ship was huge, luxurious, and full of entertainment. Live bands, casinos, clubs, and endless buffets. Amy and her family spent the first couple of days exploring the ship, taking photos, and relaxing together. Everything seemed normal. But something was about to go very, very wrong. On the night of March 23rd, the ship was docked in Curaçao. Amy and her brother Brad went out to the ship's nightclub, which was buzzing with activity. They danced and socialized, and surveillance footage shows Amy enjoying herself, chatting with members of the ship's band, Blue Orchid. One crew member in particular, a man named Yellow, his stage nickname, seemed to be paying special attention to Amy. He was later identified as Alistair Douglas, and he danced with Amy that night. Some witnesses claimed they saw him touch her back in a way that made her uncomfortable. Amy and Brad returned to their cabin around 3:30 a.m. Brad fell asleep almost immediately. Amy sat out on the balcony with a cigarette. Her father, Ron, woke up around 5:30 a.m. and saw her still sitting out there. She told him she was just watching the sunrise. That was the last time anyone in her family ever saw her. When Ron woke up again around 6 a.m., Amy was gone. At first, her parents assumed she went for a walk around the ship. Maybe she was getting coffee or taking photos. But as the minutes ticked by, concern turned to panic. Amy didn't show up for breakfast. Her sandals were still in the room. So was her ID, her cigarettes, even her cabin key. Everything she would have taken with her if she had just gone out. Ron and his wife, Iva, immediately contacted ship security. But what happened next still shocks people to this day. The ship staff refused to make an announcement. They said it was too early to disturb other passengers. Even worse, they waited hours before alerting the crew or locking down the ship. By the time any serious search began, Rhapsody of the Seas had already docked in Curaçao. and thousands of people had gone ashore. It's hard to believe, but the cruise ship's crew actually allowed passengers to disembark even after being told that a young woman had vanished overnight. This baffling decision cost precious hours and possibly any chance of finding Amy. Ship personnel eventually searched public areas, bathrooms, and the pool deck. They combed through cabins and hallways. Divers even checked the waters around the ship, but there was no trace of Amy. It was as if she had just evaporated, but it wasn't over, not even close. Strange reports started to come in. A Canadian tourist reported seeing a woman who matched Amy's description on a beach in Curaçao shortly after the ship had docked. The woman appeared distressed, and the man felt something was off. He didn't know about Amy's disappearance until he returned home and saw her photo in the news. There were more sightings too. In the months and years that followed, there would be reports of Amy in shopping malls, in taxis, even in brothels. One of the most disturbing came in 2005. A former U.S. Navy sailor claimed that, while he was stationed in Curaçao, he met a woman who said her name was Amy. She told him she was being held against her will and begged for help. He said nothing at the time, but after returning to the U.S. and seeing Amy's story on TV, he contacted the FBI. The lead was investigated, but again, nothing concrete was found. Even more chilling, Amy's family received an anonymous email with a photo attached. It showed a woman lying on a bed, scantily dressed, with vacant eyes. The resemblance to Amy was shocking. Experts weren't sure, but the family was convinced it was her. A few years later, a witness claimed to have seen Amy in a Caribbean brothel. When a witness approached her, she responded in English and begged him not to report her, saying, "My name is Amy Bradley, and I need help." By the time authorities were alerted, the woman was gone. These sightings all suggested one terrifying possibility. Amy had not fallen overboard. She hadn't gotten lost. She hadn't run away. She had been taken. From the beginning, Ron and Iva Bradley believed their daughter had been kidnapped. Amy had told them early in the cruise that some of the crew were making her uncomfortable. She felt like they were watching her, following her. There was even one time she mentioned feeling weirded out by how a staff member kept showing up wherever she went. Could she have been targeted? Cruise ships are meant to be safe, self-contained environments. But behind the glamour and luxury, dark things can happen. Staff members come from all over the world. Security is limited. Surveillance is patchy. And if someone wanted to harm or abduct a passenger, there are too many places to hide and too many ways to slip away unnoticed. Amy's case sparked serious criticism of the cruise industry's handling of missing persons. The ship delayed the search, failed to lock down the port, didn't alert local authorities immediately. By the time the FBI got involved, days had passed, and any solid leads had grown cold. The FBI profiled Amy as someone unlikely to vanish on her own. She was close to her family. She had no history of mental illness or drug use. She had a job waiting for her back home. And more importantly, she left behind everything: her clothes, her ID, her shoes. She even left her camera, which she'd been using to document the cruise. Who leaves their camera behind to run away? The Bradley family never gave up. They launched national media campaigns, hired private investigators, traveled to the Caribbean multiple times to follow up on tips. They appeared on Oprah, America's Most Wanted, Dr. Phil, and multiple true crime shows. They even offered a $250,000 reward for information leading to Amy's safe return. Another $50,000 was promised for information that confirmed her location. Nothing worked. There were moments of hope, like the email with the photo, the brothel witness, the sailor's testimony. But each time the leads fizzled out. Authorities couldn't find Amy. And to this day, no one has been arrested or officially named a suspect. And then there's the question everyone keeps asking: why Amy? She was attractive, athletic, confident. Did someone on board decide they wanted her? Did they drug her? Lure her off the ship? Was it human trafficking? There are dark rumors about Caribbean sex trade networks that prey on tourists. Amy's disappearance fits patterns seen in those circles. Beautiful women who vanish without a trace, only to resurface in whispers, blurry photos, and desperate sightings. What's even worse, Royal Caribbean reportedly offered the Bradleys money in exchange for signing a waiver that would stop them from speaking publicly about the incident. They refused. This wasn't just a mystery, it was a cover-up. To this day, Amy Lynn Bradley is still missing. She would be in her late 40s now. Her family continues to hope that she is alive somewhere waiting to be found. Her disappearance changed the cruise industry. It forced policy changes. It brought attention to how these massive ships handle crimes and missing persons. But for Amy's parents, none of that matters. They just want their daughter back. The ocean is vast, the world is full of shadows, and somewhere between paradise and nightmare, a young woman vanished in plain sight, leaving behind nothing but heartbreak and questions. If you have any information about the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley, contact the FBI or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Her family is still waiting, still hoping, and the rest of us are still haunted by the ghost of a girl who walked out onto a balcony at sunrise and was never seen again.